So we're going to talk about the ongoing scandal, frankly, of Nigel Farage losing his account at Coutts, lied about by the bank, frankly. Yeah. We're going to talk to the former advisor to the Bank of England, Dr. Roger Gewolb. Dr. Roger, we can call you by your first name. This has got murkier and murkier since last week. The BBC has now apologised for broadcasting information about Nigel Farage that was inaccurate, that he didn't have the right money in the bank account. We know he was sat next to the chief executive of the bank the night before this programme was broadcast. Is her position sustainable unless she's willing to say, it wasn't me?
I don't know what their position is. It is very murky, as you say. It's just, it's a complete mess. It's not really clear who said what and who did what, and I'm glad that Mr. Farage is pushing it to get the facts assembled on the table. This is an example. I mean, banks are not evil institutions. They're filled with hundreds of thousands of perfectly nice people that try to help their customers at the rest, but they have always seemed to have at the very top a fairly toxic culture of executives that caused the subprime banking crash and the world credit crunch 10 years ago, and none of them was punished. And they're always up to something. And it's what economists actually call regulatory capture. It's where the regulated actually control the regulator. So the regulators are the slaves of the regulator. The banks do what they want, and the regulators are pretty ruddy weak, frankly. And here is an example. I mean, where does a bank or any company or any corporation have any business having values of any kind other than how they treat their staff and how they treat their customers?
It is incredible, Dr. Roger, that they've inflicted their own woke ideology onto their customers. And this is a bank who we know in the past has been fined for not having procedures in place about money laundering. I mean, it's hardly got the best record. And yet, I wonder if it put the values it holds for people in this country to some of the people they've had as customers, like General Pinochet, like the former Egyptian Prime Minister. I bet they didn't impose the values on them that they're imposing on Brits.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, we don't accept accounts from drug lords that don't believe in climate change, things like that, you know. I mean, it's insane. What's the next step? That you walk into the supermarket and they refuse to sell you food because you don't support net zero?
Yeah.
Or you go to the library. How about that you go to the library and they cancel your card because you asked for the wrong book?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, where is this going to stop? It's insane.
Yeah. And
we're laughing,
but you've put your finger on it,
yes,
haven't you, here, Roger? Because this is the worry. This cancel culture spreads beyond banks. We don't know how extensive this has been in banks. We now know that banks monitor people's social media feeds. What other institutions are doing this? Are we going to be rejected for mortgages because they don't like the fact we voted for Brexit, for instance?
This didn't start Monday afternoon. What's scary here is how long this has been going on and how many instances of other banks and other people Nigel has exposed. I believe that he has been refused an account by 10 other banks. Where do they get off doing that?
Can I ask you to make a prediction? Will she survive, the chief executive of this bank, who, by the way, earns £5 million a year?
Well, I mean, I don't care if she earns £5 million a year. If she earns that for the bank, you know, if she earns $500 million for the bank, then
sure,
I let her earn $5 million. So that's neither here nor there what she earns. But it's hard to say. If she did leak somebody's personal financial details, and or if she did make a misstatement of fact as a chief executive of a bank about something that she frankly shouldn't have already been talking about anyway.
Quite right.
Then I think she has no place in her job.
Well, you've answered that fairly and squarely.
Absolutely.
Dr. Roger Gewolb, former advisor to the Bank of England. He's got that right nail on the head.
On the button.
That's the point.
On the button.
You go to the library. Oh, you've got a book out by a certain author. You can't have that.
I've got to read this out now.
You do.
Don't laugh at it. And we've got to read out what Coutts Bank has said. They've said, it's not Coutts' policy to close customer accounts solely on the basis of legally held political and personal views.
How do you do a raspberry? on television?
You can't do. You've got to stop
Okay,
doing that.
I've done a raspberry.